Thanks, Puvan. Quite how I inspire with a title like that, I'm not sure, but I'll do my best. Datuk Sam and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, 20 years ago, I attended Rio as a practicing ecologist fresh from the forests of Borneo. What we were desperately seeking at the time was private sector engagement and the ability to scale sustainability. Today, I'm proud to stand in front of you, global sector leaders, representing PwC's 700 sustainability practitioners, an organization that I never thought I'd see doing this kind of work. The great advantage as well of being not from Andrian's generation is the ability also to look back where we've come from, as well as to look forward as to where we're going to. It's been a long and frustrating journey to bring us to where we are, and the work is far from complete. But there is much yet to be done, and there is the opportunity to be transformational. In terms of the single message I'd like you to take away from this talk, it's really that we do have an opportunity here to fundamentally change the way that the world works. Puvan's basically asked me to get out of the plantation and back into the helicopter. We understand that globally, agribusinesses, including palm oil, are under masses of pressure. We talk about problems with price volatility, which aren't helped by climate change issues, price inflation, security of supply. If you talk to organizations at a national level, food security, just like energy security, is incredibly important to them. And of course, sustainability. The kind of questions we see at the bottom there about should I source locally or globally, how do we reduce carbon footprints and water footprints, how do we ensure there's no bad news, how do we look after reputations, are in front of companies every single day. There's different ways to respond to this, however. What we've seen over the last 20 years is an increasing transition from compliant responses, where people have said, what does the regulation tell me that I have to do? And how do I do that as cheaply as I possibly can to make sure I've got a piece of paper that says that I'm allowed to do this? To more robust responses based around management systems and business practices, and companies that on their own determine that they're going to take the sustainable pathway. To what we're beginning to see now is transformational initiatives. And I think that this roundtable, as with others, are part of that process. In the transformational initiatives, we see sectors and companies helping to change the entire process through which economies are based. No longer is conservation and sustainability about stopping people from doing things. It's about helping people to do things in a different way. What you'll see there in the diagram is a synthesis of some of the work that we've been doing with many stakeholders across in the heart of Borneo on a project that's been coordinated by WWF, amongst others, but also has incredible private sector engagement on the heart of Borneo. And you'll see that whilst the flower at the center represents what we think of as the key overlapping areas of sustainability, the important thing is getting the multiple stakeholders engaged and finding their views on these and being able to model what they think is going to be important in allowing them to run their businesses, but giving us the goal of sustainability at the end. We've been developing, and others have also been developing, approaches to looking at green growth generation. And we've worked some of this through with the likes of Puvan and others. It's a fairly simple process, but it goes from the idea of create a vision, understand where you're trying to go to, understand what your baselines are, so model what the current economy looks like, understand what kind of interventions are possible. What interventions are good for business, what interventions are good for conservation, what interventions are good for smallholders, other social issues. Then you can model what some of those interventions would look like on the ground and see, are they the right things to be lobbying governments, working with the financial sectors, working with the private sector to deliver. On the back of that, and again based on some of the work that we've been doing with people like the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, you can start to develop roadmaps. And those roadmaps, they're not quick processes. It's taken us 20 years to get to here, it'll take us another 20 years to move on. But they are processes that can be clear, they can be defined, we can measure, we can see how we're doing, we can tweak, we can make changes, as long as we know what the end game that we're trying to achieve actually is. And when you do know what that end game is, and you know what some of those processes are, how do you actually roll things out from concepts to pilots? To be able to scale things up, we need to have volunteers on the ground that are actually trying to deliver this. This is what the people in this room are all about. Let's work together to try some of these things out, see which ones work, adopt the ones that work brilliantly, tweak the ones that work less well, and then let's roll it out across the sectors, across the industries, across the nations. Roundtables are phenomenally important, both in those pilots and in those scales and the rollout. Really, the fundamental elements that I think that the roundtables can bring are encapsulated in these 4 boxes. Future-proofing. By having multi-stakeholder engagement in some of these issues, we come up with innovative thinking that can help us solve problems. Solutions to things that not everybody realized were going to be problems in the first place. We can also look at ways of educating, getting the message across to as many people as we possibly can, as quickly as possible. Redistributing. We need to make sure that the voices that can be heard in a round table, where there is no head, allow even the smallest of the stakeholders to get their message to the table to ensure that they benefit from the work that's being done. And finally, communicating. We really need to work as a sector with the rest of the world that's out there. If we can raise the awareness of the sustainability that we're trying to do within our SPO, we can actually provide a light that other organizations and other sectors can start to follow. To sum up then, the issues are complex. The integrated solutions that we need to work on need to take into account the macroeconomic implications of the interventions that we put in place. We need multiple stakeholder engagement to be able to get this right. And for me, the roundtables are absolutely critical in making sure that that stakeholder engagement occurs. Thank you very much.